Hello and welcome to the TechGig Virtual Boardroom, everyone. I am your host, Sukriti. Thank you so much for joining us in today's discussion, where we will decode the digital hiring challenges with some of the eminent names in the industry. Digital workers are confidently trading job security for new opportunities and putting them together at a vanguard of the great resignation and presenting employers with both an opportunity and a risk. Now, in this episode of our discussion, we are here to actually talk about the current challenges recruitment leaders are facing while dealing with the digital talent and what digital talent marketplaces will look like in the near future, especially this year. Ladies and gentlemen, I have some powerhouses of knowledge joining in with me for this discussion. Please join me in welcoming Narane Gundabathula, Head of Talent Acquisition, CDK Global India, Satish Rajarathnam, Senior Vice President HR Mphasis, Avadhesh Dixit, Chief Human Resource Officer from Acuity Knowledge Partners, Sunil Sankar, Vice President Human Resources OpenText, and Rohan Vaidya, Managing Director, India CyberArk. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to have each one of you here for the discussion. And before I get onto the main discussion and ask the questions that I have for you, I would really appreciate if you can introduce yourself and also share an opening remark for the discussion. So, Avadhesh, let's go ahead with you.
First of all, thanks for having me here, Sukriti. I hope I'm audible. Okay, thank you. So I'm the CHRO for Acuity Knowledge Partners, as Sukriti mentioned. And very quickly, before coming into this company, which is, we are into financial research and analytics for big bulge financial services companies all over the world. And before moving into this role, I was the head of HR for Moody's Corporation, the rating agency, as you would know. And prior to that, working in G Capital as their head HR, CMC, which is the IT company, as their head HR, and then a long stint in TCS, Tata Consultancy Services. So that's about me.
Thank you, Avadhesh. Narane?
Hey, thank you, Sukriti. I mean, for giving me an opportunity to kind of connect with all of these eminent speakers and the panelists. So I am Narane. I head talent acquisition for CDK India. I've been with this organization since last 8 years now. Prior to this, I worked with a couple of startups and also Thomson Reuters in the corporate. I started my career as a I would say accountant, but turned into a HR professional way back in my manufacturing setup or journey. It was with Eli Lilly. So that's how I have close to more than 20 plus years of experience, starting my career with finance, now HR, and then in talent acquisition.
Thank you, Narane. Sunil?
Oh, thank you for giving this opportunity. A very brief career professional, 3 decades in this functional area, done a variety of roles across the function. I get or I'm responsible for function of OpenText across India and Asia Pacific.
Thank you, Sunil. Satish?
Hey, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having us here. Fantastic panels. I think the most relevant topic that you're going to cover. So looking forward to this. Just that I'm also looking forward to the to my video as well to come up, but I should be on soon as well.
Thank you, Satish. We're waiting for Rohan, ladies and gentlemen. Once he joins in, we'll probably have a quick introduction for him. There's some technical glitch that he's been facing. But I would go on and ask for the first round of questions that I have across the table. So let's begin with the whole idea that how the pandemic has affected the entire digital hiring process. You as industry experts, I think, are the perfect people to help us understand the entire pathway, the things that changed from the industry perspective, and how the entire process, the digital hiring process has forayed past, I think, 2 to 3 years. So let's begin with you, Narane.
Sure, Sukriti. I think, we all know until I think 2020, the pandemic has hit the country. We were all using the traditional ways and methods of interviewing. Primarily, face-to-face interview was pretty much important, right? I mean, in the old era of interviewing, I mean, with the pandemic coming in, I think, I mean, especially during the lockdown days, right? I mean, most organizations have given up on face-to-face interviewing, right? Because there's no way we could connect with people, no way we could actually bring people into the office to kind of have an interview. I think remote hiring has picked up its pace. Of course, it was not new in the industry. I mean, we know, I think industry was evolving starting 2015 and onwards. I mean, online assessments were a boom. At the same time, I think remote hiring was also there. I mean, we have seen a lot of interviews were conducted using webinars like this, or maybe go-to meetings like this, or maybe Zoom hasn't been there. Of course, I mean, we have always seen Cisco WebEx meetings, go-to meetings were like primarily used for initial rounds of discussions. But later, I think we had to, I think, get into a virtual interview, video interviewing, right? I mean, that has become the new normal post-pandemic. I mean, hiring decisions were without looking at, maybe without meeting the physical person in a physical office environment. We never used to make hiring decisions, even at certain roles and above. But I think, with pandemic coming in, we had to kind of get into a remote hiring based model, especially completing all our discussions in a video interviewing thing. And then use of AI based hiring tools have actually kind of grown in the market. I think, I mean, that's where people started leaning into AI based hiring platforms. People started investing into new AI based hiring tools. I think that has been the new normal in the industry, more so post COVID, Sukriti. The digital hiring has kind of like taken a big boom in the market now, and everyone is leaning or looking towards doing virtual hiring, virtual interviewing, and then virtual onboarding as well. So at CDK, we've also kind of explored new ways and means to do virtual onboarding. And we have been very successful in onboarding close to more than 600 people, even during pandemic days.
So, Narane, I understand, especially the hiring processes. I think it was a sudden movement that everybody had to, think through of doing. Avadhesh, what are your insights that you would like to add in here?
No, I see. First of all, I think there are pros and cons of this entire, structural shift, if I can, call it, which has happened because of the, the pandemic-induced remote hiring. There is no doubt in my mind what Narane said is absolutely right. I think the positive side of it is that, because of the remote hiring process, digitally enabled process, the entire process time itself has been cut down. And you can reach out to many more candidates, and you can possibly look at reducing the cycle time in terms of getting people to physically come to your office multiple times, and that entire coordination piece has really reduced the cycle time, and that's the positive side of it. The other positive side, Sukriti, is that if you look at the pool itself has expanded, and I'm talking about contextually from my perspective. The kind of company we are, where we are okay to be in a hybrid mode for time to come. We are not looking at permanent working from home, but we are surely looking at a model where it is a combination of hybrid and work from office, work from home, couple of days. Now, in that kind of a scenario, you are looking at a situation where there is an expanded pool. For example, we are based in Bangalore and Gurgaon, big locations. Now we are expanding in Pune, but then we started hiring a lot of people in Mumbai. We started hiring a lot of women in Chennai. There is a typical skill set which is called desktop publishing, where there are a lot of skills in Chennai, and we never thought that we would start placing people in Chennai who would come to Bangalore a couple of days in a month and they can permanently work from home. So in my mind, there is a structural shift, not only in terms of digitally hiring, but expanding the entire talent pool, whether it is women or there are certain skills where the relocation is not possible. And the pandemic has unleashed that opportunity where you are looking at much more expanded talent pool. So that's one, very quickly, if you ask me 2 cons, and I'll stop there. What we have witnessed, I don't know whether my co-panelists agree or no. I think there has been a lot of, what I call fudging in the CVs. A lot of people are also taking advantage of the fact that, it is remote hiring. Sometimes you can't control collaboration tools, and sometimes you can't, the technology may not be adequate. we are seriously looking at a situation where, you know, a lot of resumes are coming where the skills are fudged. There is a overstatement of skills. That's one. Our BGC failure rate has gone up during the pandemic as compared to pre-pandemic days. I really don't know how to describe that phenomena. Because of all that, there is another shift which is happening, that in remote environment, you are looking at much more robust assessment process. So if you need to mitigate the risk of fudging of the CVs and overstatement of skills in the resumes, I think your assessment process has gone more robust. We as a company, we have improved our background verification process. We have made it more robust now. We are looking at it from a very micro lens, and secondly is the assessment process. So let me take a breather, but you know, those are my initial thoughts on what the pandemic has brought to this entire hiring process.
Thanks, Avadhesh. Sunil, what are your thoughts onto this?
Yeah, so you know, there are no unique thoughts. You know, let me add to a few things that we heard from Avadhesh and Narane. Say, pre-COVID, I think we continue to assess the suitability of a profile through telephonic assessment and like what we heard as a face-to-face interaction. For a while, we replaced these things with virtual assessments and virtual interviews. Face-to-face existed, but virtually, right? We didn't completely get away from that. We wanted to get the feel of the candidate, so we resorted to virtual interviews, but remained in touch with the candidate, you know, in a tighter recruitment process, or you know. So the best what happened in this phase was that we got to explore newer tools, newer techniques, gather some amount of new experiences and all that, and continue with a tighter assessment process. So, like what Avadhesh mentioned, probably this helped us to go beyond the hiring norms, improve the cycle time. But I also felt that it also helped us go beyond the local market and hire from, you know, other regional markets and things like that. Now, all said and done, I really don't think that these tools and techniques will replace the early, let me call it as an earlier model completely. Okay. You know, all these things will probably only supplement or enhance the hiring practice over a period of time. Like many organizations, including ours, we prefer in-person interactions during the assessment. We are very clear about that. We need to hire the most suitable candidate. We would like to connect with the candidate and is very keen to, you know, who is very keen to build a career with us. Okay. So we need to know their values. We would like them to know our character, which is very important for us in building a technology organization for future. So I understand that there are a lot of new tools. It could be AI. It could be the latest whiteboarding mechanism. Could be more of a better enhanced video experiences and all that. But I always feel these only will enhance the hiring and not just replace the individual connects and, you know, ability to get to know each other during the assessment phase. So I pause here, wait for others to talk.
Thanks, Sunil. Satish, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I guess it's a Pandora's box that you've opened up, right? And all of us are kind of bringing in our perspective to it. But here's what we did, right? Past 2-3 years since the time the lockdowns began, and you know, the way that the entire hiring spanned out, right? It became so very critical to get the best-in-class talent with the best quality. And I think one of us spoke about without any impersonation or fake candidates moving in and so on and so forth. I guess every part of talent attract stage, right? There was some of the other tool that came up significantly, right? Who would have thought you would have done weekend drive with 500, 600 people walking in a virtual platform, right? Who would have thought you would have done mini assessments, not the entire 9-yard tech assessments, within the replica of that in specific microservices area, for example, from an IT perspective. Would have thought you would have run through assessment on pockets, right? Who would have thought, like, again, we spoke about, one of the panelists spoke about it, who would have thought we would have done live whiteboarding as well to gauge the code consistency, the data, the algorithms, the structure that you use, and so on and so forth, right? Again, all of these are to scale. All of these are to kind of help organization get to the billability as quickly as possible. I guess the way that we kind of approach this, every walk of life, for example, we started using a lot of SEO, right? Yes, we would have used SEO pre-pandemic as well, but a lot of effort went in through our branding team to kind of run SEO as a full-time job, about 2-3 of them doing only search engine optimization on the job popping up. So that's that one aspect. The other aspect is all about from a sourcing channel perspective, right? Who would have thought that there are so many, the Google lookalikes of the world and so on and so forth. And I think the current context about ChatGPT, which is a hot topic, maybe I think we should discuss that as well through the course. The multiple sourcing channels that came up as well, right? How do you kind of reach out to the appropriate channel that will fetch you the right source? So that was another avenue, right? We kind of went ahead and started using bot to kind of even do basic screening of a candidate, because we didn't want to have recruiters calling everybody, end of the day, just figuring out only 5-10% of them qualify to the job you're looking at. So we introduced bot midway. We introduced video proctoring tools with whiteboarding, where we also had clients participating. We did podcast, when I say podcast, as a pod, we interviewed as well, right? Because the candidates were at large. If someone attends an interview today, the next day they don't show up as well. So we ensured in one sitting, we have the client, we have the internal delivery manager, the practice manager, and recruiter sitting in and closing out an interview discussion, right? So everything changed. The way that we even modeled our structure. So we started working on pod-based approach for recruitment, right? And then comes in the onboarding experience. We moved on to a blockchain-based onboarding documentation platform, which started figuring out, automatically in terms of, hey, you've done 30% of documentation, 60%, 90%. You know what? I think you've entered this number here, but then the number doesn't match here. Would you want to correct it? So everything moved online. But given the entire 9-year automation and AI and platforming, moving everything to platforms, like someone said, we still needed someone to kind of had an archive view of all of these together and find out, look, where is the ball getting dropped in between cracks. So there was human intervention too. There were recruiters, there were delivery managers, practice managers going through the entire BI to look, is everything happening in seamless way or not, right? So net, yes, we kind of significantly moved and digitalized the way that we reached out to potential candidates, reached out to post-offer candidates as well. We used tools all across, but we did have a human interface to kind of connect all the dots to see whether the conversion will happen, billing start will happen, whether is there a impersonation that's happened. Think about it, right? Like I said, which is one example, I'll give it back to you. Though the proctor tool lets us know, hey, this seems to be Satish Rajarathnam, but you know what, the beard looks a little weird. And the third question the panelist asked, he took about 2 minutes or whatever, at 1 minute and above, because his eyeball was to the left. That means that he was getting hint from someone else, right? So all of these had to be read through the documentation, and then decision has to be taken. And that would have been possible only you had a human interface out there, right? So all of these digital transformation helped significantly fasten our process to get people onboarded, select, reach out, and onboard, and so on. But you needed a human to take that final decision, right? I guess that's where I want to leave it back to you.
So, Satish, I completely agree. No matter how technologically advanced we become, the decision making would still lie in a human hands, because the emotional quotient is very important. When it comes to any decision making. Also, you cannot rely on bots completely for the decision making of an organization which is running on purpose, right? You have a motive that you're moving in a certain direction, and relying completely on a bot is like taking a huge risk. Because right, the bot doesn't know the emotional quotient, the strategies or things that have been put into by a human brain, right? So that is like something that's unmatchable. With this, of course, when you're talking about different technologies, every innovation that comes in with a certain set of challenges. And AI being talked about, let's just say, one of the most buzzing technologies, and most of the companies are, in some way or the other, adopting it and making use of it in all possible manners. Narane, I would like to go to you. Help me understand how AI matching solves the digital hiring challenges, because you've spoken of, how things changed. But of course, it was a huge challenge which came to all of us in a very sudden and abrupt way. And it sort of disrupted the way we looked at the entire digital hiring process. Although it was, already happening, but I should say that it kind of, when it gave a push, an acceleration to it, I think at the same time, we had to think through a lot of solutions adhering to it. So please help me understand how the AI matching exactly is helping out.
Sure. Sure, Sukriti. I think, just going back to like Sunil started, right? I mean, or maybe Avadhesh started. There are pros and cons for both. I mean, again, while while the organizations are kind of like completely leaning to AI related products, or probably AI is a big boom in the market, right? I think, what we still feel is, right, I mean, the human interface is important. I mean, whether we have the machine learning capabilities for us to kind of screen resumes. I mean, maybe I would say get closer to what we need, right? I mean, again, you put out some more topics we can discuss from the job descriptions per se. I mean, we kind of pull out relevant skills required for a particular job role, responsibilities. I mean, we can try to kind of match it with the resumes, right? I mean, AI matching helps us to some extent, Sukriti. Again, as I said, like pro is it will really save a lot of time for a recruiter to kind of spend screening time on hundreds, thousands of applications they get it. Say, for example, if I post a job today, I mean, maybe if it is a basic software engineer job, unless I specifically call out what is really required from that particular role, it is difficult for the AI to even perform the way it should perform, right? It will continue to kind of send a lot of resumes our way, and the recruiters end up spending as much time as possible. I think clearer job descriptions will really help us to kind of built in an AI, I mean, an advanced AI around those job descriptions, or maybe roles and responsibilities or skills which are required for that job to be done. And then it will also kind of help us actually kind of narrow it down to what we really require from an organization point of view, right? So those are few things. I think, I mean, AI is there to kind of help reduce the time frame, but it is also kind of little difficult for the AI to let go or maybe weed out good candidates, right? I mean, we can never say I mean, a resume is written by a candidate. I mean, more so from a candidate perspective. Candidates do not actually kind of try to match it with a job description, right? What they know, they will put it out. Sometimes they might miss out on the finer aspects of the skills required for a job, right? I mean, maybe the responsibilities which they can actually kind of manage in a particular role, they may not have laid it out in a resume. Some people don't even know how to construct their resumes. I mean, in that context, right, I think, I mean, having a human eye, human intelligence to kind of even skim through or maybe screen those resumes is sometimes important. I mean, my view is it is both ways. Pros are basically it helps solves bigger problem, which is like screening hundreds, thousands of resumes can be done with a blink of an eye. But there is a con as well. I mean, basically we might slip a lot of I would say potential candidate resumes by having AI implemented into our matching process, right? I think there are both ways. I mean, we need to kind of strike a balance, how to kind of take a call depending on the role and requirement we are actually working on. We cannot say 100% AI will solve all our problems for every role which is laid out there, because if I talk about the human resource team here, I mean, everyone is in the human resource industry, right? What AI will try to kind of match is the moment I put human resource as a function, it will go through everyone's resume. It will hit everyone's inbox, probably, I would say. I mean, it will kind of give all the results possible. Every one of us will be picked up from a human resource point of view. Specific to talent acquisition, yes. If you narrow it down to that level, probably I might come up, or maybe someone else might come up, right? That's how I think there is a definitive way to kind of screen profiles, while AI does to some extent. I think rest of the task is also kind of put on the recruiters or maybe put on the organization to kind of look into, peep into. Yeah.
I agree, Narane, and I think when we talk about any technology for that matter, it's the primary establishment of screening and shortlisting people that it kind of matches your requirement and it will give you. But the final hiring, the final know-how of the candidate is something that you have to do in person, or else it's a waste.
Yes.
So just minimizing the entire process and just easing out the task is something that technology can actually help us with. But I think that is also, when it's done even for 50%, 50% of the task can be easily managed if it's done, by the technology.
Yes.
You've actually touched base with the question that I have next up for Avadhesh. When you talk about, the hiring the qualified or the quality candidates here. So Avadhesh, there's this whole scarcity of candidates that you are looking at in the market right now, especially when it comes to the tech industry. You tell us, being at this CHRO of a firm, how to, how one can fight and, probably strategize the scarcity of qualified candidates, and how can one look at, a positivity when you're
Yeah.
seeing the scarcity out there in the market.
So, Sukriti, this is one topic which is very close to my heart. And I tell you something, this has been the topic which has been relevant not only now, but I remember I started my career with TCS some 23 years back. And I don't think since then, there has not been a single year where people have not been talking about the quality of candidates, okay? And it is, I don't know, I think it is very sad that we have to discuss this subject for decades and we are not able to solve the problem. So there are two dimensions to it. One is that there is a macro dimension, which I want to comment on, and then I would comment on very specific questions that, companies like us, companies that Sunil and Narane represent, what exactly we are trying to do. And I probably give you a context from where I'm sitting as to what we are trying to solve the problem. See, the problem is that there is no dearth of supply. There is a huge supply out there. I was joking with my team that even if you pull a small ad in Times of India or Hindustan Times and you say you are looking for techies, probably you will have to call the police, to manage the crowd. There are so many techies out there, and there's so many people out there. So supply is not a constraint. The problem is the skills. The problem is the as you said, the qualified candidate. When you say qualified candidates, I'm assuming that we are talking about people with relevant skills. And what are these skills? And these skills are not your ability to code .NET or your ability to code, Java and all that. These are core problem solving skills, that we are talking about. And what are these, core problem skills, skills that we are talking about? One is obviously problem solving skills. Second, you are looking at programming skills, which are very generic. They don't have to do with any kind of language, whether you are in Oracle, programming in Oracle database or XYZ. I don't really care about it. Till the time you've got basic skills. And then you're talking about analytical skills. You're talking about basic communication skills, especially when you are dealing with customers. For example, in our case, there would be a lot of product guys who are dealing directly with the customers, and so would be the case with other panelists where people are expected, even programmers and guys who are dealing with technology and developing products, that they are dealing with the customers, and some basic communication skills are needed to communicate with customers. So if you look at it in summary, you are talking about skills which are very generic and they require a long time to develop. And our education system, whether it is primary education system or secondary education system or college system, unfortunately is not developing those kind of skills to the extent you would want. So that's one problem. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that at a macro level, I guess there is a huge need, to fix some of this at the primary education level, secondary education level, and also at the college level. And we have not been able to do that. And that's why you're talking about millions of graduates coming into the market and only a fraction of them being what you call employable by the industry. So that's one. Now, having said that, I don't want to crib about it, beyond a point. I think this is the macro phenomena that the industry and the education bodies, the Ministry of Education, the government have to solve collectively. Otherwise, another 25 years from now, we would be talking exactly the same thing, and we would have missed the great demographic dividend that this company enjoys. We will completely miss it in case we don't address the core structural problem that I'm talking about. In terms of what we are doing, and I'll close by saying that I think what you can do, you can't solve the big macro problem alone, but what we are doing is that we are engaging with campuses, passing on this feedback to them. That is not about somebody being good at .NET. Are you using case study methodology? How are you developing their analytical skills? How are you developing their problem solving capability, which is generic in nature, which can be applied to any kind of a situation, and people can be good programmers rather than learning language skills on .NET, Java, whatever you want to call it. So one is the campus with engagement that we are trying to pass on the message. Can we give them some case studies? Can we engage them to develop these kind of skills? So when they come to they move from corporate to the campuses, they are from campus to the corporate, they are more equipped with general problem solving capability. That's one. Second is that within Acuity, we've got a training academy. We are trying to bridge the gap. You can't bridge the entire gap. Let me tell you, 3 months of training program in Trivandrum and Mysore. Trivandrum, TCS and Mphasis has a Mysore campus. 3 months of training program does not bridge basic problem solving capability. But we are making some attempt to do something about it. So we also have a training academy where we do train people for 3 months. And finally, I think there are a lot of platforms where, if nothing else, you can teach people to program better, think about problem solving capability, and then you get into nitty-gritties of actually teaching them .NET or XYZ skills. So there are certain interventions like campus engagement, online courses. We have online program platform which is called Flex. Huge huge database of courses that people can access. Even candidates can access even when they have not joined us. So those are some of the micro level interventions that you're looking at. But sorry for a long answer. This is a big problem, and I guess we need to solve it as collectively as a nation and collectively as an industry. We need to solve it.
Absolutely, Avadhesh. And I think, when we have such discussions, there's this exchange of ideas that happen, and, you might just pick up something that the other person is just, talked about, and might just work for you. And it has, in fact, has happened a lot of times that we are, into this discussion. The forum is open for things that people are actually working and experiencing. And, there you are with an idea that collaboratively comes up while you start talking. So I think, of course, that collaborative effort of everyone coming together and solving this problem is very important.
See, we are going to
Sunil,
final
now,
Sukriti.
yes.
Sukriti, we are a very quick one before you go to Narane. I think we as a country, we are going to miss a big opportunity in case we don't solve the scaling problem.
True.
And I guess Times Internet and guys like you, Sukriti, and your media house, you need to get extremely vocal to the point of getting very assertive about solving the scaling problem. The entire demographic dividend this country enjoys is going to be a big waste if we don't address this problem that you're talking about. So while your question sounds very normal, but it has a large implication for the country as a whole.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes, no, you have something to add to.
Sure. I just wanted to kind of add to what Avadhesh just said, right? I mean, we follow this methodology, or maybe we call this as buy, borrow, or build, right? So yeah, you have an opportunity to kind of buy talent from outside market, or maybe borrow from some partners. I mean, of course, there are a lot of partners available in the market who can actually supply a talent for us, right? I mean, again, the word qualified, means a lot for me. What do you mean by qualified, right? We always build talent. We have never seen people qualifying right from the college out, right? Avadhesh hit the nail on target, right? Yeah, it's like building talent. Organizations have been kind of like consciously and constantly putting all sorts of efforts to build talent for future, right? And then I think the Googles of the world, probably the Amazons of the world, they just make announcements of like setting up big, huge warehouses in India, or maybe I can say data centers in India. They are just announcing, but at the same time, what kind of an effort they're actually putting in. I'm happy that Sundar actually kind of like thought about building the nation, maybe putting some funds into developing the future upcoming talent in a particular direction. Again, do you think they're all qualified candidates there? No. Always industry has been kind of like putting all sorts of conscious effort to kind of build talent for this nation. I think I'm with Avadhesh on it. Unless the government or probably the universities realize, I have been part of a couple of advisory boards for universities, right? Those universities are privately run universities, and they take our feedback very, very seriously, and they start actually implementing what we need. So what we do is, in that sort, what we kind of like get into is, we get into the colleges. I know you can call it as an incubation center. We call it as CDK Academy, a program here in CDK. What we do is we go to colleges in second year, second semester of engineering, or maybe third year, first semester of engineering. We start actually kind of connecting with them. We tell, okay, what do we need from these students, right? I mean, we pull close to more than 15-20 students from a couple of universities, and then we run them through a specific focused what you call a campus connect program, right? I mean, where these students are actually kind of open up their problem solving abilities, their aptitude, and then we try to kind of guide them. So what we want to teach them is not the technology or the skills what we require from a job to be performed, right? We teach them fundamentals. I mean, they should be real good problem solvers in the real world when we talk about engineers or maybe any other candidates, right? I mean, they need to really know what is required from the organization. I mean, there's a connect program we have, like Avadhesh called out, like campus to I mean corporate connects, and then we try to build these over a period of time. I think building is the important key thing at this point of time, rather than just buying, borrowing. And in every individual who have the skills, I mean, of course we find it scarcely available. Say for example, any technology you take, I think it's evolving. Yeah, like we talked about chat GPT. I think someone just talked about chat GPT, right? It's an evolving technology. Blockchains have been evolving, right? I mean, we don't find candidates in that area. I think organization consciously put an effort to kind of build that particular skill in a particular candidate, though they become qualified later to any other organization.
Sorry, I'm like interrupting in between, but
Sure.
the era of the academies or the training centers or incubation centers, whatever you would like to call, is something that has come up in the past couple of years and not before that, right? I mean,
Yes.
past maybe 2 to 3 years, you can just if you want to look at the timeline. Earlier, genuinely speaking, I have had feedbacks from the candidates that people ask for freshers, and at the same time, the industry is also demanding experience. Now, how a fresher is supposed to give an experience? You are supposed to build that person, right? Not demand for an experience. You are supposed to hire, no matter if hiring for a college or maybe randomly through walk-ins. But the whole idea, as you mentioned, of upskilling and letting people build themselves is something that has recently come up. And I think 5 years back, if you would have asked the candidates in the market, no, it would have been a big no, especially from the freshers. So we have closely interacted with them, and it was heartbreaking for me to know that the people put up job descriptions as we speak, and we would come down to that how important job descriptions are normally, and especially when you figure out something for the freshers, you normally bulk hire, right? So that angle has certainly changed. Yes, Sunil, you have something to add on to, please.
Let me add just a quick point. See, only the is easy to measure.
Right.
Okay. You can use some of the online tools and all that even to assess. Very often, it's an elimination process. It's hiring the make you walk through to measure your height, your chest, or your weight, and then you get into the next level. Okay.
Right.
But in this particular context, when you're building a technology organization of future, companies like OpenText, we actually not just practice that every hire counts. We are not just building the skill, competencies here. We are building a set of people who want to build a career with us, so that we build products which matters to the customers. So it's a little different. So we focus a lot more on quality of hire, and that what that means is that only those who meet the basic criteria and expectation, be it skill or rest of the criteria, supposed to meet the hiring managers. A thorough screening happens. So it's not just easy that hey, resume is good.
I agree, Sunil. So I completely agree. I completely agree to that, and we have put that into focus. That's what I'm saying. We've put that into focus more seriously in the past couple of years, right? If you look back, there were certain restrictions. These tools that we are talking about, the technologies that we are, talking of adopting. I think this is forayed in very recent times and not in the past. Now, even the candidates have become smarter. Right? When you use an online medium of recruitment for them, the platforms that we kind of use with tech enablement, I think they've become more smarter to maybe sometimes fool the employer and get into the system, right? But they might not be eligible and things like that, because we're talking of proctoring and how things people actually respond to. So it's like a very vice versa balanced outcome of everything that has happened with time, right? So moving on to the next one. This is a very debatable thing that I have brought up. So I think I'm very positive about the change that has happened, and very happy because a lot of organizations have also run an upskilling program with us. Like for example, Salesforce, Google have actually run a sort of I think 6 to 8 months of upskilling program for the developers, which has actually helped them upskill themselves in a particular technology. So coming back to that question that I have for you, Sunil, is how effective are the sourcing mediums of recruitment? When we talk of expanding our research and talking of sourcing the candidates, how do you think they're effective mediums in today's time?
Yeah. So I think now it is all becoming talent anywhere. So the best organization actually starts thinking that they should always or constantly in touch with the virtual pool of future talent. So one source, which could a few years back probably was a job portal, and much later a particular social media channel, probably may not remain as the source of talent, kind of a good portfolio of things which will help us continue to stay connected with the future. So I still believe
Mm-hmm.
what happens in open for us, our career style is not just interface, it is the face of the organization. Many of the candidates just go there, potential candidates go, get to know with the organization, genuinely interested, they feel that they will like to be part of building such products and all that. And those are the
Mm-hmm.
people who we see getting converted much faster. So there is an interest. They would like to be part of it, and they come through this career side, and they know about OpenText more than a generic candidate who comes. So career side. Of course, social media we will never be able to out. It will continue to improve. And for us, it is a source, big source of our hiring. But more
Mm-hmm.
than hiring, or read all the job postings and job portals and all that, and referrals and all that. But this, what happens is that this more than a tool or more than a mechanism to cast a wider, this helps us to continuously, consistently stay connected with the virtual talent pool
Mm-hmm.
that I'm talking. So that helps us build the right amount of connect with the future talent. See, that today's talent is not, they are always constantly a job seeker. An active job
Mm-hmm.
seeker will not be the right talent. We all agree with that, right? Not always. Okay. But he or she or we would like to be in the mind of a future talent, so that as he or she is thinking of exploring newer opportunities, our name
Mm-hmm.
should be the top of the mind. Okay, so it is not
True.
really to cast the wide net to fish, use that as a tool to fish from, but most importantly, to continuously stay connected, so that
Mm-hmm.
we are in their mind. Okay, and when we have an opportunity, it is that you are exploring. So I pause here. I would still bang a lot on a career side. Of course, referral works, job portal
Mm-hmm.
works, but career side and social media to expand the reach and to stay continuously connected.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that input, Sunil. I will now move to Satish. Satish, we were just speaking of creating better and richer job descriptions, because that is something that actually leads to moving in the right direction when it comes to picking up the right candidate. Be it if you're using a technology-enabled platform, or a different source of recruitment altogether. Job description has to be precise, has to be correct, has to adhere to the right responsibilities that the person is going to hold in the organization. So help us understand how can actually firms and organizations can look at creating right and richer job descriptions.
So again, there are two sides to that. From what we heard from our other panelists as well. So I'm going to talk about one dimension which is very, very critical. That's from a customer perspective, right? No matter how crystal clear the JDs are, but given the context that we are talking about today from a tech stack perspective, every other fortnight there's a new skill just emerging, right, or new version emerging, or changing in from front to back, right? Now, having said that, how relevant or how important is a job description? I mean, the way that we kind of understand today, customer wants us to go ahead and get, I would say, a mini CIO from the industry, right, from the market, or from an internal talent pool that is available. But having said that, for a given role, how do we get to the T of, hey, I'm looking out for an engineer who could do front end, right? I'm looking for an engineer who could do TypeScript or a JavaScript or a HTML or a, whatever, XML, whatever you want to put that up there. How critical is this to get the JD done, right? I'm going to, for once, talk about from a recruiter's shoe, right? What happens today is with all the tools that we just spoke about in the past few minutes, you run an algorithm, you say, hey, search, run a Boolean saying, if any potential candidate from any of these databases has done, let's presume, a front end or a back end, let's say, for example, with an Angular or React, you will get thousands of profiles just popping up, right? But how would you know that most of these folks have had hands-on skill and who's worked on specific language or a specific area that we're looking at from a stack perspective, right? And that's where the JD comes into picture for us to do a closest match, right? What we do is we kind of look at a JD from a core skill perspective. For now, I'm not going to talk about leaf skills or adjacency. Unless you have a fairly detailed core stack written down saying, we are looking out for someone tenured with X number of years, someone who's got hands-on on a specific stack or a monolithic code that you've done or a language that you've done, or a specific, let's say, hyperscaler, let's say AWS or an Azure or a GCP or a Pivotal and so on and so forth. Unless you get down to the specific of JD, you're going to have thousands of job applications with your career portal, with your database engine search that you do, or with your suppliers external and with your RPOs as well, right? So it's very, very critical to have a JD which is closest to the T. I'm not saying to the T again, I'm being very watchful, but at least closest to the T. Can you put down a core stack by saying, bare minimum, I'm looking at incumbents coming in with this core stack. The rest I can live with it. For example, I will get let's say, even a half stack or a quarter stack guy. I'm okay with, as long as he or she's done some Angular, some amount of React, some amount of TypeScript, some amount of scripting out there. I would still go ahead and filter that candidate in, and then kind of probe further to see how I can build other leaf skills around it. So all the more reason why you need to have a very, very robust job description. Yes, from the other side, from a technology side, there are multiple versions that hit the market, right? You had video JDs, 1 minute JDs, this and that. But to me, that just didn't kick off as much as the hype that was created. I guess someone spoke about blockchain and other stuff. It's similar to that perspective, at least from a recruitment perspective. That didn't kick off very well. But what kicked out well is a very simple and straightforward JD that spoke about what is the purpose of this role, what are your influencers, what's your sphere of control, what is the core stack that you're looking at, and what is your job location and the min and max range that we can offer, right? These are bare minimum script that has to be in a JD to get at least to the 60-70% match that you run through, whether you run through with a bot or whether you run through an algorithm in your applicant tracking system, or you run this through by your RPOs or through your other channels. Unless you have the basic tenets of a JD, recruiters are going to go all over places and kind of getting 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 profiles stacked up for what it should be a 5 to 10 stack up in terms of a closest match, right? That's my view at this point in time.
Thanks, Satish. I think that, yes, Narane, please go ahead.
So can I just add, I mean, when we talk about richer job descriptions, more so from a product organization, I think Sunil will complement that, likewise Avadhesh probably. See, I mean, what we talk about job descriptions, I mean, basically is again a set of roles, responsibilities an individual need to be performing in an organization. Again, skills are a subset of the roles and responsibilities, right? So what we did differently, I think probably this is how I think more product organizations, I mean, would want to kind of attract talent, right? I mean, because richer job descriptions is meant to kind of attract talent, right? I mean, attract potential talent or maybe like-minded people into the organization. So what we have additionally done is basically we have put a set of I would say different things in the job description. One, I can talk about the diversity. I mean, diversity is something we need to kind of really call out. I mean, this is an equal opportunity employer. I mean, every organization would really like to kind of focus on the diversity piece of it, because we are talking about not just gender diversity here, because the organizations are leaning towards having diversified candidates, right? I mean, different age groups, different regions, maybe I would say to deeper sense, right? People coming from different mindsets, I mean, are kind of like attracted here. Richer job descriptions should have the diversity element into it. Second, I mean, I would say the employee value proposition, what we kind of offer to a candidate, right? I think we all have realized over a period of time, I mean, going back to Sunil, I mean, he's talked about the creating a good website, having a good website will really help attract talent. In order to even kind of like use website as one of these sources, right? I mean, for a candidate, how we are actually evolving as organizations is like put your EVP along with your job description right in front of the people, and then say, okay, I mean, we are a great place to work, we are a fun place to work. I mean, what in addition to regular roles responsibilities you can actually expect from this organization, right? Could be like Satish mentioned, pay, compensation, other benefits, all those are part of the job description. And then also kind of in addition, what kind of other activities you can actually kind of engage yourself within this organization, right? I mean, we are a very fun-loving organization. I mean, other than regular business, we also entertain people to kind of come up with their passion to live with us, right? I mean, because it's a second home altogether for a candidate. So to make it more finer and richer, I mean, we thought like we will add all these details to the job description. And then we are talking about an era where we are actually in the technology era, right? I mean, we are using video job descriptions these days. I mean, some of you will find some of our leaders in North America going live on a LinkedIn or a YouTube and then recording themselves for a live job description. They kind of read out what is required from a role. I mean, they present themselves saying that joining my team, you will get this, you will get that. I mean, this is what we are expecting from you. And then all these things are actually going live from a job description point of view, right? I mean, these are the elements
So,
we are
Narane,
talking
has
about.
it been very effective when it comes to the responses from the candidates in the market? Has it been like very productive when you talk
Yes, yes.
of these mentees?
Yes, it is very effective. Of course, I mean, it is not catching up very fast in India, but I've seen at least, I mean, West is following it. I mean, European countries are following it. I think especially when a hiring leader who's wanting to hire a particular role, I'm not talking about anything and everything, right? I mean, basically any specific role targeting to a specific audience, hiring leaders can actually kind of stand up and say, okay, I will kind of like talk about the job description in my video shoot, right? I mean, just a 1-minute video shoot talking about what are the real requirements he is looking at from an individual. I think that's something which will actually kind of go a long way. Of course, in India, it is very, very early for us to kind of absorb that. Can I just add one more point on diversifying candidate sources here? Basically, I mean, what we thought of candidate sources, one avenue is this actually. Video-based job descriptions are a better way of engaging candidates, getting attracted to your organization well. Second, as I said, like put the EVP in front, employee value proposition in front of the candidates to choose from. I mean, we are in a war of talent. I mean, there is a scarcity of talent also in certain areas, not every place. But in order to attract the right talent to your organization, I think these are few things you need to kind of do it differently to make it richer and finer for candidates to even look up for your organization.
All right, thanks, Narane. So in the interest of time, I will quickly move on to the last one that I have, and I quickly want each one of you to give me a couple of liners in terms of what our recruitment leaders can actually look at when it comes to the new hiring trends in 2023. So let's begin with you, Sunil. What do you think? How do you envision 2023, and what changes are you anticipating?
Okay, so for me, acquiring talent is much more than a function of attracting, shortlisting, qualifying, then responding. Much more than that. It is going. It will remain as the culture in organization. Any organization, the most highly critical uphill battle, no doubt about that. So all these that we were talking about will definitely add some amount of speed and act as enablers. But I still believe that the crux of the process should and will remain human. Every brick matters in building a castle. So the belief that every a castle makes that organization unique, and everybody start putting that right human effort in terms of identifying the best talent. I'm not making the statement for the sake of it. I am not poo-pooing the latest artificial intelligence. I respect probably 50 years, 100, from now on, probably people will start relearning human intelligence and into the front to connect with the individual and then create a telling them that this we together we will make things better for our customers and the world. So I think that feeling is going to make a huge impact irrespective of the technology that we use. I'm not poo-pooing technology that will act as enablers, but let's retain the human touch.
Thank you, Sunil. Avadhesh, what are your thoughts?
See, in interest of time, let me very quickly tell you 4 or 5 things that I feel are going to dominate or they are going to continue in 2023. One is that there is a clear-cut demand moderation which is happening in 2023. I expect the tech hiring demand to remain a little moderated or muted, at least in H1. What we are looking at in the tech industry globally, and also you must have seen some of the recent hiring trends for tech hiring in by large Indian corporates as well. I think that's one thing which is very clear, that good for everyone. I guess we are not in a very heated tech hiring environment, at least in H1. That's one thing which comes to my mind. Second is that this structural shift, as far as hybrid is concerned or work from home is concerned, is permanent. It is not going to go away. And I think it offers a great value proposition, employee value proposition for all my recruiters and everybody, all recruiters probably in the market, that unless you are looking at flexibility as a permanent employee value proposition, you are not going to get the best of the candidates. We are already looking at a discourse where the candidates are talking about permanent work from home, and if not permanent work from home, at least some kind of a flexible hybrid workplace rather than completely coming back to office. So I think 2023 is going to accelerate that trend where flexibility will be a permanent feature of employee value proposition. So that's the second trend I see. Third one I see is that I think there's going to be much more investment in collaboration technology. When I talk about collaboration technology, I'm talking about cybersecurity. I'm talking about technologies, the one that we are using right now to do this webinar. There's going to be much more investment in cybersecurity, candidate experience, and the entire collaboration technology in 2023. Maybe this is a trend which is getting more accelerated in 2023 because the trend already started in 21-22. The other trend is, I think apart from collaboration technology, you will find that the companies are going to invest more on HR technology per se. So you are trying to create candidate experience. You are going to create a lot of other collaboration experiences. So generally, I would expect that there would be much more investment in HR technology as we go forward. And my final thought, while I'm not an expert on it, but I do get a sense that the entire AI, machine learning, and metaverse some of that is going to find a point of inflection in 2023. Now, I may be wrong, but looks like the momentum has come to a place where some of these technologies like AI, ML, and usage of them, or metaverse for learning, like how to use metaverse, universe for enhancing the learning experience of, my staff or the candidates as you go forward. My final thought is that I'm in a camp where I believe that looks like the time for AI, ML, and some of those metaverse advanced technologies to come to a point of inflection and then take off from there in 2023. So those are my broad level thoughts for where I see 2023 spanning out.
Thanks, Avadhesh. Narane?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of add to what Avadhesh said, right? I mean, yeah, this is generally what we see. I think candidate experience is the topmost priority for any organization. I mean, we cannot live without that, right? I mean, that's where people start thinking of joining an organization. I think candidate experience is the most important thing. How do we better it is what I think people have started developing applications, tools in that area. And then we know, I think there are some gaming websites which are already created to engage the candidates in the initial stages, even before they pick up our offer. And then later also we just engage them post offer process, right? That is, I think in 2023 will catch up more pace. And then second, yeah, as we know, post great, I would say, resignation, we have seen candidates are, I mean, the customer is a king, like wise, right? Candidates are decision-making people. I mean, gone is the age of where we used to have talent war, right? I mean, the war is over now. The candidates have won the war. If you ask me, we need to kind of shift focus in 2023. What our talent wants? I mean, organizations are thinking of like, I mean, what organization want is gone. I think it should be more of like what our talent wants are in the industry, right? I mean, again, when we talk about Gen Z and millennials, right? I mean, zillennials or millennials, we have seen now entering Gen Z coming into the organizations. We need to know what they really want. I think that's more important in 2023. Reduce bias. I mean, reduce stereotypes in wherever you are actually kind of trying to target talent from or tap talent from. I think create a candidate persona. I mean, when you talk about job description, I think soon organization will actually kind of move away from job descriptions is what I think. And rather, I would say for each role, they will come up with a persona and then assume who could be the best fit in that particular persona. I think that's where 2023 or maybe down the lane 2025, people will move away from traditional filling a role versus I think who will actually kind of fit in that persona, and then how best they can actually do things for us is something we need to kind of look at. I think two things in my view is what talent wants is something we need to kind of keep in mind in the future, and then create candidate personas for us to know who can better do this particular job, and then move on.
Thanks, Narane. Satish, I would like to know your final thoughts before I actually conclude the session.
Sure, I guess the era of great resignation to great reshuffle, I think we're heading to the great revival period, right? I think most of our panelists spoke about this as well in different ways and means, right? But what's going to be critical is how do we right size talent? That's going to be one. Not all is going to be through hiring more, the way that we look at it, considering up until H1, it's going to be a little muted in terms of IT hiring perspective. So your entire engine of the build, right, from a build, buy, borrow, the build is going to kick in big time in terms of how do we reskill, upskill, cross skill, and get them redeployed into other avenues of technology stack. That's going to be the next schema. This is outside of hybrid versus flexi hours and all of those stuff. That's already happening and spoken about. So the way that I'm looking at it, it's not going to be all over capacity built out in large numbers and thousands for the next at least 4 to 5 to 6 months. But yes, the industry is very, very bullish. Data does suggest that all other industry verticals are growing significantly. IT degrew by about -8% in terms of the demand side perspective. So it's just a matter of time that it'll flip the side and it's going to start coming in. But what we should watch for is it's not just about hiring, it's also about building talent and building skills. And I think someone spoke about it right now. So it's not going to be just a skill, it's not going to be career, it's all going to be skill portfolio or personas. I think that you put that up that way. The way forward that we're looking at it is, it's not about career, it's all about skill portfolios. One would be working in either dimension of the tech stack, right? Not unidimensional or monolithic. That's for sure going to change in the go forward model starting 2023.
Thank you, Satish. And I think with this, we come to the end of our discussion, a very fruitful one. I'm sure our audience have had an experience of listening to so many diverse thoughts in terms of how it all began from the pandemic and how it's going to be in 2023. So thank you so much, Avadhesh. Thank you, Sunil. Thank you, Narane. Thank you, Satish. And Rohan, you kind of, we missed this session. But nevertheless, I think the thoughts are always there that Rohan wanted to actually embed while we were talking. And maybe the next time that we do, Rohan will be able to join us. But just thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I will be, coming back with a couple of more discussions next week. Till then, stay tuned to TechGeek for all the latest tech updates. Gentlemen, thank you so much once again for your time.
Sukriti, well done as a moderator. Thank you so much to you as well. Thank you, Sukriti.
Thank you, Avadhesh.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Good to meet all of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, same here.
Thanks so much.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, bye. Yeah, bye-bye.